Now, granted, like I've already talked about it, I disagree with Alistair Begg on that thing. Um, I don't think that a Christian should go to one of those kind of events because it's a hard line, and I'm not going to judge anyone who's going to view it differently. It's a hard line of attendance versus celebration, and like, what are you supposed to do? Go and like protest? like, like if you're there, everyone's assuming that you're celebrating, and so I do disagree with Alistair Begg on that. But just like how everyone's like, all right, well, I guess he's a heretic now. I've seen people say that. I've heard people like go off about how he's always been, this liberal guy. It's like, you've never listened to Alistair Begg. He's so conservative, but it's just such a weird thing that all these young guys are like, you have to be perfect. And if you're not, you're done. And I know that those guys would look at me and what I do here on this channel and they would say the same thing. But like, we're talking about real stuff. It's not just like a hypothetical situation of what you would tell a grandma. It's like this abuse. We're talking about, people saying horrible things from the pulpit. We're talking about blogs and books that are being written. And it's not the same thing. I know that they would view it as being the same thing, but to me, it is definitely not. And just feels like all these guys are trying to take their shots at the big guys to get rid of them. Like what we do here on this channel is we kind of take our shots, but it's more of like about real things. And then also like not to get rid of it. Like I don't want TGC to end, even though I've had some major issues with TGC over the last year and a half. Like some of the blogs that they wrote, some of the things that they've supported, some of the people that they've platformed. Like I have major issues with TGC, but you know what? I still got a buddy with TGC. Like I've got people that I know who are a part of TGC and they're doing good work. And I don't want TGC to end, but I do want to be able to give a voice to people who have criticism for some of these big dogs, as we often call them here. But these guys, it feels like they will take one thing and they'll blow it to be like this huge deal in order to take them down. Like, think about this. Like, Alistair Begg said this one thing on a radio show. I don't even know when it was. If it was recent, it seemed like it was a long time ago, but it was this one situation. And now that has blown up to be like this huge deal to where everyone's talking about it. These people are saying, we're not going to support Alistair Begg anymore. And now John MacArthur has disinvited or uninvited Alistair Begg from Shepherd's Conference. Like, that's a big deal. Like, that's like, think about, not that I would spend the money to go to Shepherd's Conference. It's like you might as well go on a cruise. Like, it's that expensive. Um, but they're, tons of people who paid thousands and thousands of dollars to go, and they want to hear John MacArthur, sure, but they also want to hear Alistair Begg, and they want to hear some of these bigger guys, whatever. You could talk about idolatry, you could talk about, celebrity pastor stuff, and, whatever. I think it's okay to want to hear people. But they came and they bought the tickets, and they're going to come because Alistair Begg was going to be preaching, or at least partly. And now they don't get that. Now it's going to be, some fill-in Grace Community Church guy, right? Or somebody like one of the guys who used to be at Grace Community Church, but has now planted a church that looks exactly like Grace Community Church. They're just gonna have that guy in, and like that stinks. That stinks for them. It stinks for Alistair Begg. It's a blemish, an unnecessary blemish on a guy's reputation that like he's stellar, like he's great, and they're just continuing to do this. And again, it's not like covering up abuse. It's not like he was a jerk to people and like very like unbiblically, you know, acting toward people in a way that was sinful. Like it's not that. It's he gave his opinion about attending a wedding, and I disagree with it. But what? like we have to get rid of a guy because we disagree about application. Like his theology is the exact same. It's the same as it's always been. And like they're just like, oh, compromise. I'm pretty sure he would have said the same thing like 25 years ago. Because he is that kind of guy. And like, I don't know, like maybe I'm biased a little bit. I do like Alistair Begg quite a bit. But it's just sad what all these guys like Joel Webbin and all these folks are trying to do. They're just trying to slay the Giants so they could take their spot, except for they're not qualified for it. And they're like, again, most of these guys, like we looked at the map, right? Like maybe I still have it. Some of you guys are like, he's getting real preachy for a chill stream. But let's see. Yeah. All right. We got the map going. All right. Remember, like these guys, education wise, except for a few of them, like you're talking about people with master's degrees, MDivs, PhDs, most of them. And then you look at these guys and you don't see that. All right. At least from a few, like a lot of the like Twitter people, and even people will talk about Joe Rigney. Guys, Joe Rigney doesn't have like an accredited degree as far as like post-secondary. So he, like for his graduate stuff, he went to, Minneapolis, like with Desiring God, like the Bethlehem, that's the name of it. He went to Bethlehem, and then he went to Moscow, like, and got a fake degree from Doug Wilson's fake school. Like he's not. Like Costi just got it. Ben Sauvé doesn't. Joel Webbin doesn't have theological education. Like you just go through a lot of these guys, and it's not the same. It's not the same. But they want to take their spots though. They think they could do it. I don't think so, but we'll see. Grant says, I think he gave bad advice that was unwise, but people are calling it hardcore sin. Yeah, they're saying like basically he's abandoned the faith because of it. Like there are people who are saying that. It's insane. I'm with Begg. I would go to the wedding and bring a gift. Yeah, it's a hard one. It's 100% a hard one, and I'm not going to really like debate anyone about it because it is a difficult one. It really is about like how you view attendance, and like you have to really nuance that to be like, is it celebration? Because if it's celebration, then that's different, right? Like if, at least according to my view of the Bible and sexual ethics within it, like that would be much different than attending something, right? Like you can attend, different, like, I don't know, like even like city things like different festivals and parades, not that kind of parade, but certain parades. Like you can go and be around the city, even though that certain things might happen around it or be attached to it that you're not going to agree with 100%. But is that celebrating it? Attendance versus celebration is where I really have a hard time with it. I understand the heart behind it, and I appreciate the heart behind it, and there are certain points of it that I definitely agree with. Like, because so many people will take it as, all right, well, you just don't love me if you're not going to be there, or you hate me if you're not going to be there. Like you can go even that far, and people do, and it ruins relationships. So I understand the effort to try to maintain the relationship while still maintaining boundaries. Like he had a lot of nuances with it, but yeah. That was my church in Ohio for 10 years. What? Cleveland. Beggs has been solid for 40 years. I'm older, so I've been listening to him for years. I disagree with him on this, but cancel him? Come on. Good call, man. Yeah, it's so weird to do that. You need to look him up. The man on the middle cross said I could come. I've gone to concerts, churches, weddings of people whose life choices I couldn't support. I wouldn't stand in the wedding or sign anything as witness. Yeah, right. Like, and we all know that we have family members like that. Like, I think a lot of people give like all this thought to how the church would do it, and like people within the church, and then they have like this totally separate category for family members. And like a lot of times they don't even think about that part, or like the hypocrisy between those two until it's part of their family, and then they have to think through it. But they don't think about it for other people. But yeah, it's like, again, it's attendance versus celebration, and like, where are you going to draw those lines? And it's such a nuanced conversation that I'm not going to debate anyone about it. Now, if you're celebrating it and you're just like, yeah, I want to celebrate it, then I think we have a bigger problem. We need to go to some scripture passages.